I want to ask you this first. Do you believe in capitalism?
To an extent. I don't think like at a certain point of like wealth that should still be like socially like acceptable. Like for example, billionaires, like to acquire $1 billion, there's no person or like lifetime where you'll ever be able to spend or need $1 billion. So I don't think billionaires should exist. If I have $1 billion, I'm never going to reach.
Should they stop you before you get to $1 billion? Let's say you do get to $1 billion.
I'm not going to reach $1 billion because
why not?
Because I'll never need that much money.
So
Nobody will ever.
You won't do it?
So if I'm reaching that much money, at that point, I'm have more money than I'll ever need and that I could ever use.
Right.
Like I could buy, with $1 billion, I could buy several yachts.
Right.
And like just burn them and then get a pile of money and burn that.
Hello everybody, welcome to Cultural War. I don't know if this guy is really a graduate, like he said. He says he's a graduate from the USC, but to me, he seems like I'm not sure this guy made it through high school. Welcome to the channel, everybody. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to get more videos like this. Alright guys, let's watch Jesse take this guy out. I hope you enjoyed the video. I would like to know your comments. At the end of this video, I'd like to react to your comments as well. See you at the end of the video.
Before you went to USC, were you an angry black guy?
Angry?
Yeah.
Black guy?
Yeah. Were you angry?
I mean, I think emotions just come as they come. So like, I wasn't like perpetually angry, but like when something happened to make me upset, then yeah.
Right. Who you grew up, your father and mother are together, right?
Yes.
And who you grew up closer to, your father or your mother?
Both.
To both? You were equally close to both?
Mm-hmm.
And so did you grow up thinking that because you were black, the world was against you, white people try to hold you back?
I think that there's like a lot of systematic oppression towards black people.
But when you grew up, were you thinking that way? While growing up in where you grew up, yeah, were you growing up thinking that?
I think based on like your experiences, you like observe and learn about like your existence and how like you're treated in America and things like that.
No, but what I'm trying to find out, while you were growing up north, you were getting a good education, you had both parents in the home, you had your little Mexican friends. Did you think that you were black and the white people were oppressing you?
From my experiences, I wouldn't say all white people, but I would say that this country is systematically.
No, I'm trying to find out why you were growing up, were you thinking that way? I'm gonna get to how you think now, but while you were growing up, were you growing up thinking that, oh, white people are oppressing me, I can't get an education, I can't get food?
I don't think.
Were you growing up thinking that?
No, I mean, when you're a little kid, those things aren't in your mind, and they shouldn't really be, because those are like adult problems.
And
so
how about
like,
when you got in high school, did you start thinking that way?
I didn't start thinking that way until I started experiencing those things.
And where were you, down here in LA or up there?
I feel like you experience those things from a real young age as a black person. Like, when was the first time somebody said something racist to you?
I never. It's been years. I was a baby.
You were a baby? A teenager. So yeah, so when you're a teenager, you experience your first racial encounter.
So what happened to you? When did you experience one? An encounter?
One?
Racist encounter?
Plenty. I mean, that's like almost inevitable.
So while growing up, you experienced it?
Yeah.
Tell me about your first one.
I mean, I don't know if I can give you my first one. There's been a lot, but there was one time when me and my brother were really little, probably about, I might have been like 8 and my brother was 10. And we tried to go to, it was in Temecula where my grandma lived. There's a lot of white people, and we tried to go to this little like amusement park type thing, and there was like a ride, and me and my brother went to go on the ride, and the people at the thing said we were too big when like we weren't. I was 8 and he was 10, we were small. And then a group of like teenage white kids got on the ride. And then when we went to go ride the go-karts, there was a bunch of white kids like swerving and trying to get us out, and one of them called my brother the N-word. So like, and this is I was 8. So like, you experience these things like throughout life as a black person, and those are the things that like make you realize that there's like unwarranted hate towards black people.
So did you grow up thinking, oh, I'm experiencing racism right now? While growing up, were you thinking that?
No, I don't think you understand it.
When did
It's
you start
confusing.
thinking that it was racism?
I think you recognize it once you learn more about like
I'm
society.
trying to find out, when did you start thinking that way?
Probably like, I don't know, 5th grade, 6th grade, like
You start-
middle school.
At that time, you started thinking, I'm a racist. I mean, I'm experiencing racism.
I mean, yeah, when I experienced it, I started recognizing it for what it was. I think I was always experiencing racism. I just didn't know what it was at the time. And I think neither do most kids. Like, you start learning about racism and the power that it holds in around like middle school, when you start being able to like gather your own thoughts and understand things for yourself.
So has racism held you back?
Why did you put the air quotes?
Has racism held you back? You
No.
just graduated from USC, and you finished high school, you have 2 parents in the home, they fed you, they took care of you. Has racism held you back at all?
We haven't let it hold me back.
Has it held you back?
No, because I didn't let it.
And what did you do to avoid it holding you back?
Spoke up and didn't let it kind of affect my existence. So, like, if somebody tried to stop me, or let's say, like, for example, like, I'm black and there's only like, I think 2 or 3% black people at USC, and then probably like 40% white people, which shows right there that there's a serious like disadvantage for black people.
In what way?
Because there's only 3% black people admitted into the school.
But that didn't stop you from graduating.
Yeah, because I worked extra hard to get there, versus like white people don't necessarily have to work as hard, obviously.
How do you know that?
Because there's like a entire system built around white success and white supremacy.
But how do you know that white people don't work hard to get
No,
what
I'm
they
not
have?
saying white people don't work hard to get to where
As
they
you
are.
do, how do you know white people don't have to work as hard as you do to get the best grades, to get into the best schools, to get the best degree? How do you know they don't work as hard to get that?
I'm not saying all white people don't work as hard, but I'm saying, like, I think, like, systematically there's like advantages in white communities. Like, there's better education, better schools for these white communities, and it makes it kind of like the whole like education system and like success is more accessible for white people. Not saying that they don't have to work hard to get to where they are,
Yeah.
but it's far more accessible for some black people in black communities. Like, they don't even know that USC exists, because it's not shown in their schools. It's not like, you
And
know, so that's what makes it
If
different.
black people most white kids have 2 parents in the home, right? A father and a mother, right?
How do you know that?
I'm asking you.
I don't know. Do you know that?
That tend to be the norm, where they have both parents in the home, right?
Is that a stereotypical
If black people
understanding?
had 2 parents in the home, because 70% of black babies born out of wedlock, if they had a father and a mother in the home, do you think that their opportunity would be better? They have a better chance, or would it be harder?
Do you know what percentage of white babies are born out of wedlock?
30%.
Did you just make that up?
No.
How did
Maybe even less than that, but I think the last report I saw was 30. So I'm asking you, if black people had 2 parents in the home, would their kids have better opportunity in their own communities and elsewhere?
I think not just black people, but any type of people.
But how about the blacks?
2 parents in the home is a positive influence on a kid. Yes,
Right.
2
So
parents
would it
that
be
are
best to
helpful.
have 1 parent or 2?
It's always best to have 2, but that's not just for black people. It's for anyone.
Right, but if the blacks did that, do you think they would have better chance?
I'm telling you, if anyone did that, they'll have a better chance at success.
Right, but I'm asking about the blacks.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And you said that black people have to work harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to work harder than the white kids?
I worked hard for myself.
But did you have to do that, or you did it because that's what you were taught?
I did it because I wanted to be successful. And I
Right,
wanted
but the
to
white
reach
people
my
didn't say you had
goals.
to do that, right?
White people don't tell me what to do.
Right. So where does this idea come from that black people have to work harder than the whites?
It's not an idea, it's like a reality.
And
For example, my school, I'm talking like black and brown people, so Hispanic people have difficulties as well. Basically, for my school, I grew up in this small town of Watsonville, you know, like a public school, and there's like a percentage of the kids were like homeless and like disadvantaged. People didn't, like a lot of first generation like students who are trying to get to college for the first time, they don't have like the advantage of having parents who have the money to pay for, you know, after school programs and tutors and things like that. Those are the disadvantages. And then like for like other schools, like
Whose fault is it that they were like that? Was it the parents' fault or white people's fault
what do you mean?
that they were homeless?
I don't think it's their fault. And there's a lot of
It's not their fault?
there's a lot of like, you can't like name one reason for why people end up homeless, but like
But was it the white people's fault that those people were homeless, or the people who were homeless, their parents' fault?
I mean, it depends on the situation.
But which most likely? The white people's fault or the parents' fault?
I don't think white people are like, the way you're saying white people is like they're these all-powerful people that are like controlling, like they like snap their finger and that person's homeless. Like I don't think it works like that. It's
But
like
that's what,
more of a systematic thing.
what do you mean by that?
So like, for example, a kid grows up in like a disadvantaged community and
What's
they
the
don't have
disadvantaged community?
like a community without proper education systems, without you know, good schools and like
Whose
good.
fault is that? The
after
white
school
people or the
programs.
parents' fault?
How is it the parents' fault that the schools aren't good?
I'm asking whose fault it is. Is this the white people's fault or the parents' fault?
I mean, it's
that
the-
in their own community they don't have good schools.
It's
Whose
the
fault is it?
It's the fault of the society, like the capitalist society that doesn't put enough funds into public education. So it's not like white people's fault. It's like the fault of like the society as a whole. So like,
What do you mean by that?
So basically, I'm saying if a kid grows up in an area with like poor education and they're never told about college and never given the tools to succeed, and then they end up not being able to go to college and therefore they don't have a competitive edge to get a good job.
Who should be telling them about college?
The education system.
Not the parents.
I mean, if the parents are, what I'm telling you is like, it starts from like a base level. So if the parents grew up in a place where they weren't taught about college, then they're not going to know to teach their kid about it, and so on and so forth, until that cycle is broken. But I'm saying, like, let's say a kid doesn't learn about college from the school that should teach them and give them the tools, which is why you go to school in the first place.
Who should teach them?
Like teachers and like the programs and stuff in the school, like they should give kids the tools to like make it to college. And then if they're not
So
given those
are you
tools,
saying that in the black neighborhood, the teachers should be teaching the kids about that?
they should be,
Are you saying that?
yeah.
And
You don't
so
think
why
teachers should-
is it that the black teachers are not teaching the black children that, hey, there's a big world out there?
Who said black teachers? I didn't say anything about black teachers.
Well, who's not teaching them that?
It's just not good schools. Like they don't have the programs and like the funds. They're not well funded. It's
And
not
why
just
not?
black, because it's not like just black teachers in specific. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of like brought black teachers in out of nowhere. Like it's black teachers' fault for not. They're like, I mean, I grew up in a community where it was just Hispanics, and all the teachers were white. So like, I wouldn't say that it's black teachers' faults, but like you have to like put extra effort to go out and like learn about those resources yourself, versus like at these like private schools and things like that like a lot of like upper class families can afford. They get those tools, and so there's like a disadvantage. You see what I'm saying?
But they should get them because they have two parents. They're working to get them, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right?
I mean, but so you think if a kid grows up with one parent, then they don't deserve to have the resources and stuff to know about college?
It's the parent's responsibility, that one parent, to make sure they find out that information, right?
Well, I mean, but if the parent, let's say the parent doesn't know about that, then you think the kid doesn't deserve to know either?
So are the parents dumb?
No.
Well, why would they know about it or look for it, research?
Maybe they just didn't have the opportunity to learn about it.
What? They had the opportunity to have a baby.
How does that correlate?
Let me ask, do you believe racism exists?
Yes. Do you believe racism exists?
Define racism for me.
Do you believe racism exists?
I'll tell you in a minute. Once you define it.
Okay, racism is, so basically, like, I don't think we should separate racism from the other isms, right? So there's capitalism, which is like the idea that basically like powers are controlled based on like financial capital and stuff. And then there's like socialism, which is that the government should control capital and it
You
should go to
believe in
everyone.
socialism?
Okay, let me finish my first thing. And then there's like communism, which thinks everything should be equal, and then there's racism, which is like another ism that is based on maintaining a social structure based on the idea of race. So keeping certain people in power and keeping certain people out of power. So like that would be racism if you like.
Can you define it for me? Racism.
I just did.
Who is in control of racism?
It's like a social construction.
Oh, so for an example, in the black community, they used to be two parents, and the father and mother thought and did for themselves, and then once the civil rights movement started, the parents gave up the men and put the men out. The women took over. And then the so-called civil rights leaders became the thinkers. They told the blacks what to do, join the Democratic Party, we're going to be your leaders. So are those black so-called leaders, the civil rights leaders, are they racist because they're controlling the blacks? They keep them poor, but they use them to get the money and the wealth and give it to their friends and may help them. Are they being racist?
What? Yo, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like it's a real question.
Is that a definition of racism?
No.
Well, they're controlling the system in the black community. They tell blacks when to think, how to act mad so we can bring in more bills, and they end up with the money. So they're controlling the blacks. They're keeping the blacks here while they're living high on the hall. Are they racist?
Where did you get this idea? Like,
Well,
did you make
asking.
that yourself?
No, are they racist, what I'm asking?
No. Are black
And why
activists...
are they racist?
I said they're not.
Why is it they're not? They're controlling other blacks by keeping them financially in a certain area.
Who said that black social activists are keeping black people in a lower financial area? Like, where did you get
You don't believe that they are?
No. I mean, I'm a black social activist, and I'm not trying to keep black people at a lower state.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to empower black people.
By doing what?
By giving them a voice and letting them be lifted. And, like,
How is that going to empower them?
to allow them... Okay, for example, I led, like, the Black Lives Matter march at USC.
Yeah, I want to get to that in 1 minute. But how would what you're doing empower other black people?
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you this because I'm explaining how it empowers
Okay,
people.
well,
So,
hold that thought for me. I want to ask this first. Do you believe in capitalism?
to an extent, I believe you should have the opportunity to like build for yourself and for your future. At the same time, I don't think like at a certain point of like wealth that should still be like socially like acceptable. Like, for example, billionaires, like to acquire $1 billion, there's no person or like lifetime where you'll ever be able to spend or need $1 billion. So I don't think billionaires should exist, like that type of money.
So you work hard to get into USC, you got your little degree, you work hard, you think somebody should tell you, once you get X amount of dollars, you need to stop, you're not allowed for that?
If I have $1 billion, I'm never going to reach...
Should they stop you before you get to $1 billion? Let's say you do get to $1 billion.
I'm not going to reach $1 billion because...
Why not?
Because I'll never need that much money.
So
Nobody will ever.
You won't do it?
So if I'm reaching that much money, at that point, I'm have more money than I'll ever need and that I could ever use.
Right.
Like I could buy, with $1 billion, I could buy several yachts.
Right.
And like just burn them and then get a pile of money and burn that. If I have more money than I'll ever need, then that should be like given to people that are less advantaged. So
Do you have a right to have as much as you want, or should someone be able to tell you, you know, you work too hard, you are making too much money, you better stop now? Do they have a right to tell you that?
I don't think they need to tell me that.
Or do they have a right to tell you that?
They don't need to tell me that, because I think as a moral human being, you should understand that if you have, let's say like I have no water and you have gallons of water, you're just going to sit there and hold your gallons of water even though you'll never be able to finish drinking it, and let me sit here with a cup of with no water in it?
Would it be wrong for me to do that?
Yes.
Would it be my fault that you can't get water?
I mean, if you have that much water and I have no water,
Would it be my fault that you can't get water?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's your fault, but if you
If it's not my fault, then why am I wrong for not giving you my water?
because you have the means to.
But why am I wrong for not? You can get your own water. What's wrong with you?
I mean, if there's like social constructs preventing me from acquiring
But
water.
nothing in your way from work hard, go get your water. Dig a hole.
This is like the bootstrap mentality.
What do you mean?
That doesn't work. You're saying like if I work hard enough, then I will become a billionaire?
Yeah.
Okay, so like,
Are you saying in your affirmation that you won't?
no, what I'm saying is if I was to become a billionaire, I wouldn't keep all that money to myself.
Right, but you have a right to do it if you want to,
But
right?
I wouldn't want to. It's a moral
But you
standard.
do have a right if you want to.
Sure, if you want to keep,
And no one has a right to tell you that you can't.
okay, if you want to keep $1
Do
billion,
anyone have a right to tell you, as hard as you've worked already, do anyone have a right to tell you you shouldn't make $1 billion?
I wouldn't want to make.
No, that's
$1
what I'm
billion.
asking. Does anyone have a right to tell you that you don't have hardworking you're a rapper, you got 4.3 average, you graduated from USC, you're a go-getter. Does anyone have a right to tell you you don't have a right to make $1 billion?
I think people have the right to tell me that it is morally unjust for me to have that much money and
But
not.
do they have a right to tell you that you can't do it?
I mean, they can't tell me that I can't do it if I already have it, but I never will.
No, do
is
they
what
have
I'm
a
saying.
right to tell you you're going up the ladder now? Do they have a right to tell you that you can't make $1 billion?
I'm not gonna make $1 billion. That's
I
the
understand
question.
that. You're going to keep it with the black people. But do you have a right? Do they have a right to tell you you can't make $1 billion? That's what I need to know real fast.
It doesn't matter.
I know,
what
but just
people
answer
tell.
that, then we'll get to the
Yeah,
other
they have
side.
a right to tell me that. Sure.
To tell you that you can't do that. You're a hard-working individual. They have a right to tell you no. You
Yeah.
got to stop at this amount.
They have a right to say that. Yes.
How much? At what amount should they stop you?
What do you mean?
At what amount do they have a right to tell you to stop?
They have a right to tell people. To,
No, you. At what amount of money do they have a right to tell you stop it?
stop making money.
Yeah, you have too much. You need to
Sure.
stop. How much?
I mean, they can tell me that I need to stop whenever they want.
And they have a right.
Yes.
And would you stop?
I mean, at a point when I feel like I have more than I need,
No, when they tell you to stop, you have more than what you need. Would you stop?
if I feel that I
No,
have,
no, no. If they tell you to stop, you have more money than what you need. Cut it out. Would you stop?
Okay, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, just answer that.
Okay. I would stop if I felt I had more than I needed. And then I would begin my journey of like bringing other people up with me that
But
are
if you
disadvantaged.
don't feel like you have more than what you needed, but they do, and they tell you to stop, would you stop?
No, I'd keep going so that I can successfully give back to my community. Because if I don't have enough money to sustain myself, then I'll never be able to uplift the rest of the community.
And you think you can do that with money?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. You don't think you can uplift a community with $1 billion?
Uh-uh.
Why not?
You make them worse. Look at the black people. They've been given money and free stops, government programs, and money for 60 years. They have only gotten worse. They haven't gotten better. They're still begging and burning and destroying because they're not building character.
Building character.
Yeah.
Is this about character?
Yeah.